thank you for taking your time to join us, because it's an opportunity to explore energy arts and also perhaps to celebrate the upcoming Earth Day. Now, we will have a separate celebration for the World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, because I am actually going to organize another virtual event, just like we did last year when we organized an event with Bill Douglas, and I interviewed more than a dozen of Qigong masters and Tai Chi masters. That was kind of a fun event to do, and we're going to do something different this time. I'm interviewing graduates from my programs who are Qigong coaches and perhaps up-and-coming Qigong masters themselves. It's a fascinating opportunity for me to speak to the folks who used to study with me, or some of them continue studying with me, to see where they are, how they're practicing, how their lives have been transforming, and how they help transform the lives of many people they work with. So that's something that is a great motivation for me to do my work, because that's why I do my work, is I help people transform the quality of their lives. And obviously, if you would like to experience the transformation, we can get started today. Now, before we go much further, let me also mention to you that we had several folks who received miniature coaching sessions in our previous Qigong coaching clinic, which was just a couple of weeks ago. And I already received a few messages or emails saying, that was awesome, that was amazing, I had a massive breakthrough, I want more of that. So I, of course, will be happy to work with those people who I already worked with in the past, but we also want to give opportunity to the folks who have not experienced my work to experience it. And not only will I be able to offer some coaching today, also several of my apprentices are present and available to offer coaching as well. So, for example, one of them is Marcia, who is also co-host of our event today. So thank you, Marcia. Another one is Stefan, who is here as well, actually physically right here. So we are in the same room, even though the background doesn't look the same. But he may be able to offer some coaching as well. And usually we also have several other Qigong coaches present. So let's see who else is here today. Sean. Hello, Sean. You may make yourself available if you feel like coaching somebody. Jeffrey, you are also very welcome to make yourself available. Ambika, good to see you. You are very welcome to make yourself available to offer coaching too. So basically we have a team of people here to celebrate and also to help. Now, without any further ado, let me ask if anyone has any questions about Qigong, perhaps a burning question that you wish you had a Qigong master to answer, but you didn't have one, or perhaps you just came up with a question right now, but you would like to ask it. So feel free to unmute yourself. We'll take turns, obviously, but you're welcome to ask a question that you would really like to find solution or answer to. And I will do my best to answer. And if any of my apprentices have a good answer, obviously that will be an absolutely suitable thing to do, to answer questions. So who would like to ask any questions of me or of any of my students and apprentices? Well, if there are no questions, obviously, I'm not going to insist. So another thing that we also do in our gatherings, like I said, is miniature coaching sessions. And if you, by the way, if you come up with a question, or if you have an issue that you would like to bring up, there is a raising the hand feature in Zoom. Do you know how to raise your hand? It is not necessarily just lifting your hand like this, which is an option too. Another option is to actually click the button in, where is it? When you go to, I think it's in chat. Yeah, I think it's in chat. And so there you can raise hands. You will.
It's in reactions. You go to reactions and then just, it says there's a button down at the bottom of reactions. Raise the hand and lower the hand.
Okay, I see reactions as more like applause and also thumbs up. But maybe my reactions are not the same as yours.
It's at the very, very bottom of reactions.
I practice being responsive instead of reacting, so maybe my reactions just are not very well represented here. Cool. So let's see.
I have a question.
Say what, Marcia?
I have a question.
Yes.
I will ask this question on behalf of everybody that's in the clinic today.
Okay.
How do we make the most of these clinic sessions?
Brilliant. How do we make it most? Well, like I already suggested, we are in the process of doing miniature coaching sessions. So anyone who has any undue tension, pain, or suffering would be able to benefit directly and pretty much immediately right here in the context of this Qigong coaching clinic. If there are any questions that you wish you would like to find answers to, that would be an excellent way to benefit from participating in our events as well. And we may also do a little practice. How about that? We'll do a little practice. And, you know, I am going to designate one of my apprentices to actually lead us through a practice in a few minutes. Not right now on the spot, so to speak, but I'm going to actually ask one of my apprentices to lead a simple, very short, maybe 5-minute practice. Who is that going to be? Well, I'm not going to say it right now. You guys are going to be like, oh my God, is it going to be me? Well, so basically, this is going to be an opportunity for you folks, my apprentices, to think, what is it that you would like to offer as a short practice right here in the context of this coaching clinic. Now, another thing that also happens is we celebrate. What do we celebrate? Well, we celebrate the Earth Day. It's coming up just a few days down the road. If that's something that you personally resonate with and you find that this is an event that's worth celebrating, that's something that I would support you in. Another thing that also coming down the pike just a few days later on April 24th is going to be the World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. It's our professional holiday. Basically, we don't have any other professional holiday as far as I know. So we will be celebrating that. But we will have a separate event dedicated to that in 2 weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we will also have a wonderful array of Qigong practitioners and coaches talking about their practices. Now, this is an opportunity for anyone who has any discomfort, pain, tension, or other form of suffering to literally speak up, raise your hand, or say, I would like to receive a miniature coaching session. Obviously, it's going to be not a private. It will be in front of all the other participants in today's event, but I hope that's okay. It's something that it will be relatively short, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And in the course of 10, 15 minutes, you may actually experience a noticeable breakthrough. So much so that the tension that they may suffer from will be a lot less or gone. The pain may disappear, or at least you get a handle on it. If there is emotional suffering, or spiritual issue that has been bugging you, or psychological or stress or other issue, something that can be brought up and explored with the help of Qigong coaching. Now, any questions, any requests? I am happy to answer any questions to the extent of my ability.
Linda? Linda's got her hand up.
All right. Yeah. I see. Who is it? Janet?
Jeanette.
Janet? Okay.
Jeanette, too, has her hand up. I put it up in the participants. There's a button in the participants that you put your hand up, then you can see all the participants at once. Quite easy instead of scrolling through the screen. See who has the hands up there.
All right. So please tell us, Janet, what you would like to experience or what your issue is that you would like to address.
Well, I'm in California and I'm living minimalistically, and it's very cold here for me right now. So I'm really working, and then I'm also a massage therapist. I do about 15 hours a week. So I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so the whole upper body, neck and shoulders really talk to me in the morning. I wouldn't say it's pain, but it's discomfort. And I do a lot of yoga, but I would like some Qigong coaching. That'd be nice.
All right. So obviously you would like to experience something different from what you already got as a result of practicing yoga, as a result of receiving Qigong coaching. What would be the difference? What would be different when you receive my coaching?
I don't know what your coaching's like at all, so I can't really say. This is my first time. I'm not used to a lot of human contact, so it's kind of overwhelming. Just so not to be overwhelmed would be really nice. The countenance, you know, that's peaceful and calm, and being an empath, feeling people suffering.
So basically, if I understand you right, the tension that you experience in your upper chest, shoulders, maybe upper back, is something that is a result of doing massage, or is it a result of doing too much yoga?
No, I don't think it's too much yoga. I definitely think it's massage. I'm very physical, extremely physical for if you think about it, you know, people go to the gym once a day, you know, for an hour or so. Well, you know, for 3 days a week, I'm, you know, pulling, let's see, 5 hours a day. So I'm pulling 15 hours, 3 days of extreme physical work. So I don't need, you know, I got muscles and they are contracted a lot. And also the energy, how can, you know, maybe this would be how you can help me. How can I bring in more universal life force energy so that it's easier, that it's more energetic than mechanical?
Well, what kind of massage do you do?
I work at a place where we combine East and Western. So we do a lot of Eastern. I do ancient forms, Eastern forms, Tuena, very vigorous. I also do shiatsu, a lot of acupressure, a lot of deep tissue, a lot of getting people to relax, calm the nervous system. So we'll do everything from lymph drainage to an Essalon massage, very flowing, to get people to relax. So I do a huge combination at a world-class spa. It's the only place, I'm not advertising my place of work, it's the only cedar enzyme bath in the United States of America.
Where is that?
That would be Freestone, California, off of Bohemian Highway.
Fantastic.
Hippie country.
Hippie country, indeed. So let me ask you this. If you consider the most important thing to take away from today's session. Let me just start with it. And from here, then we can go into specifics. Number one principle is that it's impossible to help people relax if you are tense. As a massage therapist, if you're using too much force, people don't relax very well, or it doesn't last long. In other words, you are forcing them to relax. And if that's the case, well, that's understandable. Then the shoulders and the trapezius and other muscles will be sore because you are just working too hard. So in a sense, it's the practice of non-doing. It's because relaxation is the function of doing less rather than doing more. And that's a factor of non-doing not only for the person receiving massage, it's also in many respects what the massage therapists need to do as well. Connecting with a person with a relaxed hand is going to help person relax. If you tense up the hand and touch the person with a tense hand, it's only gonna make them feel more tense unconsciously. So from here, if we are in alignment, if we understand that this is an important principle to keep in mind, then we can go into some specifics. Do you agree with this assertion that it's a lot easier to help people relax when you are relaxed?
I do. And when I start to massage, it's amazing. It's something turns on that I do relax, and I really do call on the masters. I say, you know, the best masters that, you know, can come through me and work through me, you know, and so it's not the massage at all. Massage is great. I love it. Thank God I get to touch people in the pandemic, you know, and help them. And it's the after, it's the when I wake up in the morning mostly. When I'm moving around, I'm good, and I do my yoga, I'm good. But when I wake up in the morning, so I don't know what to say there. There you go. It's a morning thing.
Yeah, well, it's just like going to a gym. You work out, and the following morning you will feel sore. Well, so that means that you're actually working out when you're doing massage. Well,
oh yes, it's very physical. These Eastern forms are very, very physical. Very, I mean, you're moving, getting people, their whole body to move like that.
Pressing people into relaxation, I always prefer to help people find a way to relax from inside out. And
Yes.
that's something that requires the least amount of force. I mean, you need to be strong. Obviously, we also have the whole strength training component integrated into Qigong coaching. We actually have an amazingly intelligent and effective way to strengthen all different parts of our body. But we don't want to use force when we work with our clients on the massage table. We want to use power. What's the difference between being a forceful massage therapist as opposed to being a powerful massage therapist? What do you think?
Ego. Get out of the ego. Get out of the monkey mind. Get into their energy field and how you can best help it, and work intuitively.
And like you said,
It's a mindset.
Using universal flow and blending with a flow and making yourself align yourself with the flow so that
Yes.
the flow does most of the work. Basically, when you're on the flow, you don't have to struggle, because if you're struggling, it means you're struggling against the flow. So that is the crux of the matter. In a lot of healing modalities, unfortunately, the idea of flow is not really prominent. And so people are trying to use techniques, and they're trying to use their own strength and force to apply these techniques. And what we learn is how to develop not only the skill in terms of techniques and understanding of the principles, but also the ability to use the least amount of effort to get maximum results. Now that's what we call peak performance, right? Well, when we practice peak performance, we achieve maximum results in terms of healing using the least amount of effort and physical force. So
Right.
that is something that I would definitely love to be able to offer to you, because just as an example, if you have, let's say, a tension in the trapezius, like let's say if you touch the opposite trapezius with one of your hands, and anyone participating in this coaching clinic is welcome to do the same thing. You can palpate to check which of your traps more tense, the right or the left.
The right, for sure, on me.
Okay, so if it's the right, for example, let's see if you can do just one simple thing. Go to the insertion of the trapezius, palpate along the area where it inserts, basically close to the shoulder joint, a little bit above the shoulder joint, starting with the clavicle bone, and then go to acromion, the part of the shoulder blade that the humerus attaches to. You may find some area of tenderness. Now you'll notice that you're stretching the neck. Please stop.
Okay.
Do the opposite of what everybody tells you to do, what you have been taught to do in the massage school. I don't want to say it's all crap, but well, pretty much. So what we do is the opposite of what everyone does. Because if you want to get the same results everyone else gets, then do the same thing that everyone else does. If you want to get better results, you got to do something differently. How do you do it differently? Well, apply gentle pressure, pinching the trapezius, and pull it upwards towards the neck. And do the opposite of what everyone tends to do. Instead of stretching the muscle, actually shorten it, tilting the head towards the shoulder that you are working on. Now notice how you are basically shortening this muscle manually. When you manually shorten this muscle, it literally achieves what it's been trying to achieve. If the muscle has been tense, what is tense muscle trying to do? Well, it's trying to bring the two ends of it closer together. Now, what you're doing is you're helping this muscle manifest its dream. If it's been trying to bring the two ends closer together, now you're actually helping it out. And what's going to happen? That's a nice sigh of relief. Did you feel that, Jeanette?
Yeah, it feels good.
Now, you may notice how this muscle begins to release the tension. It's because it's receiving fewer signals of contraction from central nervous system to relax, to contract. There are no signals of relaxation central nervous system can send to the muscles, but it can send fewer signals of contraction. Why does it send fewer signals of contraction? Because the muscle communicated to the central nervous system. I've been trying to bring the two ends closer together, and finally somebody came along and helped me out. And I don't need any more signals of contraction. Thank you very much. So central nervous system takes a little bit of time, just maybe a minute or two or three, to comprehend that it doesn't need to send any more signals of contraction to this muscle. And then it stops sending so many signals of contraction. What happens to the muscle as a result? It starts relaxing, right? And it's not just this muscle in question that you're touching right now. This sigh of relief or a change in breathing pattern in general is because the central nervous system becomes less agitated in general and sends fewer signals of contraction to all the muscles throughout the body, including the diaphragm, the breathing muscle, which is exactly what elicits that sigh of relief. So if we understand the principles of physiological function and we work with the mind and body as a one living organism like this, something amazing happens. We work with the organism rather than working against it. We're not beating the muscle into relaxation. We're not trying to harass it with deep tissue. I personally do not think deep tissue massage should be allowed. I mean, on some rare occasions, sure, as a form of torture, but I certainly think that it should not be the primary modality. that should be used in spas or in massage parlors, because people are not coming there to be tortured. They're coming there to learn how to relax. Well, they need to learn how to relax from inside out. Tension is not something that's been done to them. So relaxation is not something that can be done to them either. The relaxation has to come from within. In order for that to happen, we simply need to create the appropriate conditions for the central nervous system to become more relaxed. And then the body follows suit. If you check the status of your right shoulder right now, Janet, can you tell me if you notice any difference between the way that it felt before you did this simple maneuver as opposed to now?
Yes, it feels much better. Everything feels much better. It's good to breathe again, to realize that that tension up there takes away from your breath.
Absolutely. Now, does your left shoulder and left trapezius feel envious and says, hey, what about me?
No. Maybe because it likes to have some sense of balance, you know, to like this was tighter, so now that it's equal, it just feels a sense of equality.
Nice. So the simple principle, how would you be able to apply it elsewhere? For example, do you have any tension in your pecs?
No.
Do you have any tension?
Typically, it's knees, hips, and low back.
Okay, you were just mentioning in the beginning of this miniature coaching session that there was tension in the upper chest and shoulders and upper back. So is it the lower back?
I just in you know the occupation that I have is there's where it'll show up, you know, and you never know. It might be the neck and shoulders, might be the low back, might be the hips, sometimes the knees screaming, sometimes the heel of the foot. It's interesting, but I can feel the energy move through me when I do Qigong, and I do breathing, and I do yoga, and so I'm constantly moving the energy where it's stuck with my mind, like you said, internally.
Right. In terms of yoga, it may help. It also may very well contribute to tension that you're suffering from. And the reason for that is because lots of people who practice Hatha yoga in America consider it to be an exercise routine.
Yes.
And basically, most of that exercise is dedicated to stretching.
Yes.
And as we were just talking about, that's the last thing we need to be doing to tense muscles. If muscle is tense, it's trying to bring two ends of the muscle closer together. That's basically the dream that this muscle is trying to manifest. That's what tension is trying to achieve, right? Now, when you stretch, you pull the muscle in the opposite direction. Two ends of the muscle pull in away from each other. So basically what you're doing when you're stretching a tense muscle is you are working against that muscle. You're working against the dream that that muscle is trying to manifest. No wonder it causes, it adds insult to injury. Basically, when we stretch the tense muscle, it creates a stretch reflex. By definition, stretching is pulling the muscle beyond the edge of the comfort zone. You're raising your hand like you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
And that question, that's the next step for me, is being an empath and being able to feel, just being my lead system, feeling everything, is maybe I'm tensing because I'm picking up their tension, their internal tension that I'm so aware of. How do you hold your strength? I mean, I do like this exercise, you know, this Qigong exercise, to do that. I need to do more of that, to not bring in their energy, like, hey, I'm health, here I'm sickness. You know, you get to, you know, and how do you try to bring health to that which is not well and which is not flowing, and then at the same time, but feeling it and having a response, a human response. I'm feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm actually going to ask Stefan. Stefan, would you do me a favor and do a demonstration of a centering exercise? I think it's going to be very pertinent. And You don't have to do it for very long, but maybe if you just simply just step back and stand on your feet and just do a relatively short centering exercise practice. So just watch what Stefan is doing. You can bring him up. Oh,
I
maybe,
don't see Stefan yet.
can you?
Perhaps if you flip the computer around.
Yeah, I can flip the computer around. Okay, here's.
Oh, there's Stefan. Hi, Stefan.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you? I have limited space in my minimalistic home. Should I still stand up and do this with you?
Sure, I would.
Okay. I guess I can't. You can't see me then.
So what we're going to do for the centering exercise, basically, is put your arms out to your side and slowly rotate back and forth. With the idea being that you want to act as if your body is a pole. You want to keep your chin down and keep the crown of your head up. And then imagine that your spine is the axis around which you're rotating.
That feels great.
By rotating slowly back and forth, keeping your back straight and not wobbling, it helps you achieve a sense of being centered yourself, and that helps to promote relaxation and focus, in my experience.
What do you do with the breath when you're doing this?
What was that?
What do you do?
What do you do with the breath when you're doing this?
Well, you want to exhale as you're twisting and inhale as you get to the center. You'll notice that.
So you're breathing up your breathing. You're speeding up your breathing then. Than normal.
Yes. You'll notice that as you twist, you'll naturally want to exhale as your lungs get a little bit squeezed.
Yes. I like that it's almost like an alternate nostril breathing.
Yes.
That's different.
You'll want to inhale. So it'll be a matter of exhale, inhale, exhale. And by doing that back and forth, really helps you to achieve that centered, focused state.
And what is the tension though?
The tension.
Attention.
Okay, that's good. I feel good. I feel great. Thank you. Pain all gone. Fantastic.
All right. I'm glad that I could help.
You could. Thank you. I'm going to do that every day.
What's interesting about this practice is that you can also keep your arms relaxed and completely limp. So they just flap around like two
I like that.
completely relaxed ropes on the sides of your body. Hands just flapping and touching off the hips every time you turn. But what's cool about this is that you can also test this. You can test how centered you become, because
Yes.
why we call this a centering exercise is that you bring 100% of your attention to your center. Where is your center of your body? Well, it's the Tai Chi pole, or the central channel in Oriental medicine. And what happens when you bring 100% of your attention to it, you become more centered, because where attention goes, energy flows. And
Yes.
when you become really centered, you also learn how to not take on anything that life throws you. It throws at you. Basically, what you do is you feel like the energy is coming at you, and you can just pivot in the same way as you do by yourself, just turning from side to side. For example, if another person pushes you, let's say, Stefan, would you do me a favor and push me? Sure. Great.
Oh, nice.
As I'm just pivoting, just like I was doing thinking, just like I was doing when I was playing with my own alignment and finding my own axis of rotation. That's exactly what happens when somebody's pushing you or somebody's projecting any energy. It doesn't have to be physical energy. It can be also emotional and mental energy, but it's easier to learn how to deal with the physical energy first. And then you start embodying this principle. And then it's a lot easier to integrate it into other areas of your life. But the idea is that once you become centered, you become responsive. When energy is coming at you, you don't react. You actually flow with it. Because statistically speaking, it's very unlikely that Stefan would be able to apply perfectly 50% of pressure on the right and 50% pressure on my left side of my center line. And even if you manage to apply perfectly 50%, then I will just exercise freedom of choice to turn to the right or to turn to the left. Thank you. That's simple and elegant practice that really gives you that sense of stability and balance without clamping down and reacting, or without taking upon yourself energies coming from other people. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you. So helpful. I feel very blessed to have been chosen today. I feel great. Thank you. You made a positive.
You helped selected you raised your hand. And I appreciated you taking the time to explore this. I hope that it was helpful, Janet.
Very. Thank you so much. I appreciate it greatly.
You are very welcome. And I believe Linda was also raising her hand. Linda, would you unmute yourself and speak up? And tell what you would like to experience as a result of a miniature coaching session today.
Well, I enjoy my Qigong practice, and I'm getting in very good shape. I'm trying to get stronger. I'm in very good cardio shape, but I'm very weak strength. So I'm trying to improve my lifestyle as much as possible. And I eat healthy and whatever. The one piece that's missing from my lifestyle health is the lack of sleep. I am very bad insomnia. It's been on so long, at least 30 years, so I don't remember when it started. I take yoga and nidra at night. I have no problem getting to sleep, but it's always waking up, and it's usually in pain because my back is so badly damaged from the RA. I have 7 artificial joints, but I don't let that stop me. I do as much as I can in movement and activity and exercise. So yeah, there's one piece missing. It's my back just doesn't seem to want to get better. It's just getting worse. It's very badly damaged from the neck down to the very bottom. Every part of it's been either collapsed or twisted badly, or things coming out, projections, whatever. So yeah, it's a mess. And that's what wakes me up.
Right. So what would you like to experience as the most desirable outcome of receiving a coaching session from?
I mean, I see a chiropractor, and boy, does it hurt when she touches those areas. So I know there's a lot of inflammation and bad things going on there, but how could I help myself? Because every 2 weeks is not enough to get attention there.
Right. And what matters the most is not what happens during that session every 2 weeks, but what happens throughout the rest of the 13 days and 23 hours in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it hurts, when a chiropractor touches your spine and it hurts, well, that basically means that the part of the body is asking for attention, maybe even crying for attention. This request for attention arrives to the central nervous system, and then we perceive it as pain. In other words, if a part of the body hurts, it's not a sign that you should never touch it. It's quite on the contrary, the sign that you should give it more attention. And you don't only need to receive attention from a chiropractic physician or other medical practitioners. Nobody can give you more attention than you can give to yourself. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how do we give attention to those parts of the body that hurt? Well, how about we start by touching them? Where would you say is the most tender area that you could touch and you would feel like, wow, that really hurts to touch it?
Well, it's hard for me to reach back there because of my shoulder limitations, but I can reach my lower back, but it's a bit higher up. I mean, the lower back hurts, but it's not as bad as what's going on with she told me it's where the ribs connect to the lower part where the ribs your last ribs connect to the spine, that's where it's really sore. Kind of an unusual spot. I don't know if it's because of all the rotations I do with the Qigong practice.
I don't think that's because of the rotations. Most likely it's because of misalignment of the spine. I can't see your whole body right now, but I bet that you have scoliosis, don't you?
Oh, I do. Like I said, it's badly twisted. I have scoliosis, lordosis, kyphosis, all those kyphosis, as they are.
You have kyphosis and lordosis at the same time because they're opposing directions.
Well, you'd have to see my spine in an MRI. It is really very twisted weirdly.
Well, I would love to see an MRI of your spine, absolutely. But generally speaking, kyphosis is the condition where lumbar curve is diminished or gone, and lordosis is when you exaggerate the lumbar curve. So basically, they just go in completely opposite direction. Like one.
Well, that's what my spine is. The only way to describe it is it's a crazy snake. It just goes zing, 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 zing.
Okay, so if the snake has, if you can imagine that the snake had a voice, what would it say? What would you want? What would that snake want to communicate to you?
Well, I'm assuming to relax.
So the snake would
So
say,
that it's not contracted so much.
right. So the snake says, I want to be able to relax. Well, and the relaxation of the muscles around the spine happens when the spine is in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
When the spine is upright, the bones are stacked more or less. Of course, there's a little bit of curvature to every human spine, but the bones can support the weight of the torso. Otherwise, the constant pressure that we experience, thanks to gravity that we are all swimming in, is pulling the torso down, and if the bones are not in alignment, something has to compensate for the lack of structural integrity. Well, that would be the muscles. And the muscles are never as strong as bones. And muscles also get tired, they burn energy, and then they get sore because they get overworked and underpaid, so to speak. And so these muscles that become sore are literally screaming for attention. Hey, pay attention here. We're working instead of the bones. We're basically trying to do the job that the bones do effortlessly. Well, so we need to help them out. How do we help those muscles out? Well, one of the ways to do it is to actually, what I was just sharing with Janet also, shorten them. By shortening the muscles, we actually help them achieve what tense muscles try to achieve. For example, if one shoulder is higher than the other, in your case it's the right shoulder that's higher than your left, well, that is an indication that the thoracic spine is tilting towards the left. Almost always the lumbar spine tilts in the opposite direction towards the right. And usually lumbar spine is not stupid. It's not just going to do it for no good reason. It does it because the left hip is higher than the right hip. Have you ever been told that one of your legs is shorter than the other?
Well, I have trouble with the right hip. Yeah, I'm being out of rotational alignment, and I've had to get that adjusted.
Right.
She did tell me the chiropractor said I had a shorter leg, and she was working on it to even me out more.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about short legs is that in most cases, I don't want to say 100%, but in majority of cases, it is not really true. The leg is not really shorter. It's when you lie down on a chiropractic table, it looks like one leg is longer and the other one is shorter. But that's because one of your hips is hiked up. Most likely your left hip is hiked up towards your left shoulder. Does it seem familiar?
Well, it's the right hip that I've always had trouble with, that they've had to adjust to get it back. So it's, I get a lot of pain if that went out or whatever it's doing wrong.
Right, yeah, you cannot put much weight on the right hip. That's why you carry more weight on your left. Correct? Like if you stand for me for a moment, would you do me a favor and stand for a moment?
I'll see if I can get back far enough. My screen only does horizontal.
Yeah, very good. You don't have to take your clothes off.
Well, you can't see anything because that's a pretty bulky thing.
If you imagine standing on two scales right now, would you say that there is more weight on one scale than would be on, that would be on the other scale?
Well, I tend to slouch a bit.
So if the right foot stands on one scale and the left foot stands on the other scale,
Listening to.
which scale would
This
give you?
guy is presumably teaching something about,
Yeah, I guess the right maybe.
The right one would give you higher reading? Linda?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so what I suspect is going on is that when you distribute weight evenly, your hips will even out. If you have more weight on one foot than the other, something really interesting happens. The weight-bearing hip hikes up. And of course, that will look like a shorter leg because the muscles of the same side, the obliques, will be also contracting, keeping you from falling over an opposite direction, away from the weight-bearing foot. And when those muscles are chronically tense, then obviously when you lie down, they're still tense. One of your hips is pulled upwards towards the shoulder, and it looks like the feet are not at the same length. Oh, the legs are not at the same length. But that's not the legs issue. It's actually the issue of imbalance in terms of distributing weight between the right and left sides of your body. And so what we do is we learn how to pay really close attention to the simple idea of even distribution of weight. Now in Tai Chi, they talk about double weighting, and they say, oh, that's not good. I say, baloney. This is actually exactly what we should be doing. Again, just like everyone, if you do what everyone else does, you'll get the same results everyone else gets. And everyone else is messed up. So we know that distributing weight evenly will allow for the evening out of your pelvis. And when the pelvis is even, your sacrum becomes upright because sacrum is part of pelvis. But the sacrum is also the foundation of the spine. When the sacrum is upright, then the lumbar spine can actually stand more or less upright. When there is no tilt of the lumbar spine, there is no need for a thoracic spine to compensate. That means that your spine actually becomes less scoliotic. It's not going to feel normal because you're so used to having scoliosis. You've had it for many years, right? And so obviously it will not feel normal, but that's going to be an opportunity to learn how to adapt to the new feeling, a new normal, so to speak, that is going to actually be healthier for you than being the old normal, which was unhealthy. It may even require developing a somewhat different sense of identity, because if you've been suffering from these issues for long enough, you probably develop a sense of identity, like I'm a woman who has pain and a lot of issues. Well, that's an identity statement that inadvertently comes through or goes with you wherever you go. Well, what we do is we learn how to develop a new sense of identity. Identity based on much greater alignment and even distribution of weight. This balance is something that is considered one of the primary objectives of Chinese medicine in general. Now we talked about balance of Yin and Yang. Also, that is something that comes as a result of physical balance. So first we want to find the physical balance, and then all other types of balance become possible. I even worked with people who said they finally found financial balance as a result of becoming more physically balanced. That's right. How can you be balanced financially if you are not balanced as a person? Your finances basically reflect how you are. And so what we'll do is we'll learn how to develop that kind of balance simply starting with the sense of distributing weight between our feet in an even manner. Now, that's something that is going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight, Linda, but I can guarantee that your chiropractor will be amazed when you start showing up for the sessions less and less out of balance, more and more aligned. Now, if you want to learn how to do this for yourself on a consistent basis, obviously, either myself or one of my apprentices would love to be able to help you with that. You don't have to make a commitment right now. I'm just giving you an idea that this is something available, and that's something that I personally have a lot of experience with, and many of my apprentices do too. As a matter of fact, one of them says that she would like to add something. Ambika, you have something that you would like to add? Please unmute yourself and speak up.
Oh, yes. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, can you speak up a little bit louder?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Still pretty soft, but you can maybe get a little closer to the mic and that will be good.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better? Yeah, I just couldn't help just to add something to Linda, because I've experienced this the same issue about 2 years ago. Yoga was a big chunk of my life before I discovered merging yoga and Qigong, and I've seen in some of my students that the spine has been a really big issue with all the years of their practice. And what really worked for myself is that I agree with what Lama was saying about what basically he was saying is that also becoming more aware of your body, right? Becoming more aware, especially as women. Also paying attention, especially when it comes to a spine. So notice what the spine does. It's a structure that holds the structure of the body, right? It holds the structure of the body. So what does that tells us, right? Like look at your structure. It holds the weight, right? So for us women, we carry a lot of bags and bags of bags. We have a lot of bags right or left. So so begin to notice that groceries, and so that I start to pay attention with that. Like, okay, so it's not just with the practice, it's your lifestyle. So the spine carries weight, right? It carries the weight of the whole structure of the body, and it goes down to your knees, to the hips, down to your ankles and to your feet. So begin to really pay attention, what you put weight into your body. And it's not just physical, it's also emotional and energetics as well. What you let in into your energetic field when you practice, who you let in into your field when you practice, when you teach, as well as the stuff that is unnecessary in your life. These are weight as well. And also, I was hearing about Janet earlier, and she's a masseuse. I wanted to add as well, because I'm also a body worker, and I understand, yes, you do have, put yourself into this great position so you don't get tired. I practice a lot of Thai massage in India and Thailand, and they teach you a lot of these techniques so not to get tired some position, but also you also need to be aware that when we teach and we give massages, what the person that we are giving service, what are they releasing? Stress, tension, that's energy out of their body, and that goes somewhere. Where does it go? If you are, as a masseuse, a therapist, or a teacher, a facilitator, if you haven't done your practice, your meditation, your Qigong, so you are in your low vibration or energy and you enter into that space and you're in your students or you're massaging someone who is coming with you with, you know, body aches and tension that causes stress in their body, causes them pain. And when that release, that energy goes somewhere. And that maybe goes to your body as well. So you also need to take care of your body. So when you go home, you shake it up, you do some shaking, you know, some body movements. And you really, what it's asking is you really need to take care of your body as a body worker, as a facilitator, as a, you know, embodiment teacher, practitioner. And it really asking the body, the body pain, you know, feeling sensation is the way our body communicate to us if something is need restoration and rest. So when we feel the pain, we need to rest the body. Something, this one need to rest, the spine need to rest, body need to rest. And it just resting, just body communicating to the point that you're actually feeling the sensation. That means it's just something that's, you know, that's coming to the up at this maximum point of that the body can tolerate. So all it is just needed to rest. We just needed to pay attention, being gentle with ourselves, especially as women, right? Especially when you're doing this kind of practices that is include um, um, energetic exchange. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ambika. Good, wise words. And I definitely resonate with that. And also when we give attention to the body, as they say, where attention goes, energy flows. Or in Chinese, they say, Yi Dao, Qi Dao.
Yeah.
Now, when you give attention to yourself, where does the energy flow? Back to you.
Exactly. Yes.
When you give yourself the attention that you deserve, you also start recycling massive amount of energy in your system. Now that is the golden key, unlocking the secret of the macrocosmic and microcosmic orbit practices and similar practices in Qigong. Those practices are not just about running the energy up and down the spine, Duma and Renmai channels. It's about creating the circulation of energy in your system. Well, that's basically how we do the circulation. We pay attention to ourselves. The centering exercise that Stefan was sharing just a few minutes ago is an excellent way to bring attention to yourself. And when you pay attention to yourself, you also experience not only empowerment, but also self-knowledge. Because there is no way to get to know yourself if you don't pay attention to yourself. So we learn how to pay attention to ourselves also to know ourselves more. And that is one of the primary objectives of most schools of thought and religions that I know of. If you know yourself, you can be empowered and you can use yourself much more intelligently and basically live your life on purpose. Now that's something that creates a totally different quality of life most people will work with. So that's something that I would definitely encourage and inspire you to do, to bring more attention to yourself, just like Ambika suggested. Thank you so much. Now I also see that
Jennifer?
let's see,
Jennifer has her hand up.
yes, Jennifer raised a hand. Please, Jennifer, please feel free to unmute yourself. Also turn your camera on.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good. This is like I think my second session, joining the session. So very interesting. And I'm new to practicing Qigong, probably within the last year. I just need to get my rhythm going, you know, to make it a daily practice. Get up earlier in the morning and instead of like going to my desk to work on my computer, I'm working from home now. So it's different, but yet at the same time, you know, it's allowing more time to be able to do this instead of having to worry about commuting. So, but thank you for hosting these sessions, and nice to meet everybody. Currently, what I'm working with is, I think, this transition of working from home, which I really love, number one. Two, I'm not really quite ergonomically set up like I like to be. Three, I'm working through wanting to do some transformations in my life. So there's a lot going on with that. I've resorted to doing a lot of walking as my form of exercise since, clubs are closed, physical, health clubs are closed and whatnot. And I used to, ride my bike a lot, but I'm mostly a walker. I've never been a jogger.
Okay.
Over my years in life, I've had many injuries, a lot of physical therapy, and resorted to, doing acupuncture and osteopathic manipulation, which I found is really great alternative healing methods. And so now I'm working with Qigong, which is more of a life force and, calming the system down in different ways of movement that are, not so impactful. And I've never had knee issues before. And last year, 2 years ago, something just clicked in my knee, and the doctor I went to go see mentioned that it was more about core strength, that he didn't think it was in the knee, but yet my knee is very weak still, I feel. And then now my right foot, I have flat feet, and a lot of my work that I've done has been on my feet over my lifetime. So flat feet doesn't help, not much of an arch. And now I have this burning pain in my right foot near the inner foot, the tender part of the foot that's near the ankle bone, but on the tender part of the underneath the foot there. Now, I don't know if that is due to, I could kind of relate it to movement of transforming my life, like walking and feet have to do with movement, change, fear, all that. But I'm not quite sure what this burning pain, and it's starting to affect my walking, which is like what I really love to do. Now I do walk intervals of where I live at. There's hills, flat, down, up, all that. I need to get a better pair of shoes. I've found that Brooks work well for me, sometimes over supporting, under supporting. I've had to look at all that, issues. So I know I need to get a better shoe, but I also am, trying to figure out, okay, what is going on here? Is there a psychological, is there, to the physical and all that. So that's kind of a long story, trying to put it short.
The answer is yes. The short answer is yes, because it is psychological, or I would call it psychosomatic. Almost always is. And one of the things that you are probably experiencing, but not the only thing, is what in physical therapy would be referred to as the plantar fasciitis. Basically,
yeah, I've had that before.
An inflammation of the fascial connective tissue at the sole of your foot. So there are several things that can and should be done in regard to helping you out. First and foremost, I can tell that you have a holding pattern in your body that's holding forth. Just by looking at the head, I can kind of tell where you have tension in your body. And so you probably have some tension in the back of the neck a little bit, and probably between the shoulder blades, probably also a little bit in the lumbar spine, and also the calves, probably one calf a little bit more than the other. And then the toes of that foot that you were talking about probably also have tendency to kind of grasp like this, like hammer toes. Is it true?
Yes, it's, where the pain is it's along that, it's, I don't know, well, can't really see here, but, so I can feel it in here, but the burning pain is right in this area here. But it does have a tendency to go into that toe. And then what it does is it works itself all the way up here, then goes up to the right. Then my hips start tightening up. That's kind of been happening lately too. I have had both plantar fasciitis and metatarsal issues in the past, because I've, done this kind of work where I'm doing stage work where I'm on my feet for hours a day, but I'm not doing that currently right now. But I have suffered the pain of plantar fasciitis and metatarsal, but I thought plantar fasciitis was only in the heel area. So this new pain that we're talking about on the side that I showed you, you're right, it does kind of go toe, it travels. I kind of looked it up, travels, and then what it's doing is it's affecting all parts of the body, and then I guess it would be my hip areas tighten up. So sometimes I get up in the morning and I'm like, stiff, really stiff.
Yeah, the right side, the right hip, right?
Well, and both hips sometimes.
Okay, and
So
in the area of the hip that you feel that, is it in the buttocks or right in front of the hip or in the medial?
it mostly is like, it feels like it's like this tightening up here, so that when you're trying to get up in the morning out of bed, you definitely feel this area right in here,
yeah,
the tightening of the hips. And I don't know if that is all connected, but the right side seems to be, the affected side, and I forget which side is the right side, the left side, female, male, or the energy of right side, left side.
Well, what matters
Right brain, left brain.
when you bring weight on your sole of the foot, I bet what happens is that it's not at the center of the sole of the foot. Yeah, you're welcome to stand and just check if there is a little bit more weight on the heels or on the toes. What would you say? What would it be?
Probably more the heels, I think.
Can you jump and land softly, just like this? The natural stance that Yoav was talking about just a few minutes ago. Very nice. And now let's check the distribution of weight between the toes versus the heels. You don't have to do this with your hand, but.
Okay.
Is there more weight on the heel or on the toes? And maybe one foot feels different from the other foot, by the way.
It feels like the left foot, there's more weight on, like, say, the ball. And then the right foot, it feels like it's almost like a little bit to the, it almost feels like it's tipped in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe a little more on the heel there. I know I'm walking,
When you say that's tipped,
trying to
which
put my
direction
foot
is it tipped?
outward. What's that?
When you say it's tipped, which direction is it tipped?
In the right, so slightly to the right. Whereas before I thought I was pronating to the left, and I think lately I've been tipping up to the right so that the pain doesn't get to that inner, which would be tipping to the left. So I just noticed that now, which I hadn't noticed before, that
Right.
you had me do that. It almost felt like it tipped up to the right a little bit.
That's exactly why I'm here for, what I'm here for, to help facilitate awareness. And one of the reasons why we are talking about this is because when there is an uneven distribution of weight, either because the front or the back of the foot, the toes or the heels, or between the inner and outer edges of the feet, we become less grounded. In other words, the bones of the lower leg can't support your weight as well because they're not in alignment. It's like if you look down on the knee and the toes ideally would be in the same geometrical plane. But if the knee and the toes are slightly out of alignment, then the bones are not really aligned. They can't support your weight as well. Well, then the muscles will start compensating. Just like misalignment of the spine, if the bones are out of alignment, the muscles have to do more work. Well, the same thing happens with the muscles of the lower leg. If the knee is not quite in alignment with the toes, or for example, there is more weight on the heel or on the toes of the foot, then there's going to be compensation pattern. And where there is compensation pattern, there's going to be an energy blockage and pain or dysfunction. And what we do is we realize that nobody's doing it to us. We do it to ourselves. So we learn how to first recognize it and take 100% responsibility for it. Damn it, I've been doing it to myself. I don't have to beat myself over the head for what I have done, but I have the freedom of choice to keep doing it or to do something different, something a little bit more in alignment, more intelligent, more in harmony with my body. And if you choose to do something that's more in harmony with the body, well, the first thing would be to find the center of the foot. Literally, you can measure the length of the foot, divide it in half, measure the width of the foot, divide it in half, find the center of the foot. That's not where most people think the weight distribution should be. Well, we don't care what most people think because they don't know what they're talking about. What we're talking about is finding this spot where distributing a weight will provide the bones the opportunity to do all the work. And that is the center of the foot. It's like the suction cup. If the center of the suction cup is the area that doesn't even touch the surface usually, that doesn't matter. Still, we need to apply the pressure on the center of the suction cup if we want it to stick to the surface, right? If we apply pressure on one side of it or the other side, it's not going to work really well. Mm-hmm. Similarly, the foot can be visualized like a suction cup, and you can actually distribute weight right on the center of it. Nobody is going to do it for you. I cannot jump through the computer and make your leg aligned. And that's something that you can actually do as a mindfulness practice.
Okay.
Day in and day out, whenever you walk, whenever you distribute weight on your foot, you can actually experiment. How grounded am I? That's the principle of grounding. Why? Because those energy blockages that happen when we have undue tension in the muscles make us ungrounded or prevent the energy from circulating freely between our bodies and the ground that we walk on. But when we walk with the Soulful Steps, which is the term that I coined a few years back, basically using the entire sole of the foot to land as flat as possible, as though you're wearing moccasins. You know, like Native Americans used to walk softly on earth. Why? Because they didn't want to hurt themselves. Because if you strike the ground with a bare foot or with a foot that doesn't have any padding on the sole of the shoe, you're going to jar your joints, and that's not going to feel good. So what you do then is you walk softly, landing with the entire sole of the foot. And that's what I call a soulful step. It's almost like you're walking on ice. It's going to look funny. It's going to feel funny because you're not used to it. But once you develop the habit of walking with soulful steps, you become like a ninja. You start walking with much softer steps, shorter steps. That's okay if the stride is a little bit shorter. But what's important is that it becomes a habit of paying attention to your feet and how you distribute weight on the soles of the feet, both of them. And then something really interesting is going to happen. The bones will naturally align so that they would do the work. So eventually you will not have to constantly pay attention to your feet. Once it becomes the new normal, such an ingrained habit that you don't have to really constantly pay attention to your feet every second of your life, your body will continue doing it automatically.
I love that. I love that. I love that thought of soulful stepping. And even if I am doing like, you know, a faster walk, I can still keep that, because I actually on my walk, I listen to a lot of frequency type YouTube music, you know, so that kind of helps bring me down anyway. So that will be really good to keep while I'm listening to, you know, frequencies, different hertz, keep that soulful step in mind. And it's not about this, like I think we used to tell you before, it was more like heel, toe, but that's not it. It's not about heel, toe. It's this soulful step. And you wouldn't be able to like walk Soulful Step because it's something you have to feel in your own body, correct? Like the Soulful Step, like to demonstrate a Soulful Step, or no?
I can.
I just want to see what, I mean, I get the idea of the Soulful Step and it sounds really nourishing.
I'm walking with Soulful Steps right now, which require bending of the knees a little bit, because the quadriceps are the muscles that now absorb the shock of my landing. Most people want to land on the heel first. They strike the ground with the heel and they absorb the shock of landing with a relatively small muscle called shins. By the way, you can see how I can stand on one foot for as long as I want to. I don't lose balance, I don't wobble. I can stand on one leg like a stork till cows come home. Now what happens here is that I distribute weight on the center of the foot that gives me that stability. But in addition to the sense of stability, we also want to develop the sense of distributing weight on the bone structure, and that requires aligning the knee with the toes.
Interesting.
If the knee is slightly rotated inwards,
Mm-hmm.
it collapses the arch of the foot. This is what we call pronation of the foot. And that's basically what, one of the reasons why the sole of the foot hurts. Basically, it becomes overstretched. Tissues hate being stretched.
Yeah.
So whenever people think that stretching is a healthy thing, I'm sorry to say that it is not.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, stretching is something that is one of the, if not number one, cause of injury.
Mm.
When we stretch tissues, the tissues basically go into a sprain. Sprain is a condition when the tissue got pulled and then it tries to contract like a rubber band. And when it tries to contract, it hurts. It basically goes either into spasm, or if it is the connective tissue, for example, what they call fascia, then it just simply creates the condition of inflammation. Well, thanks to understanding that, okay, we don't want to stretch. Now, what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is to allow these tissues to lengthen. We allow them to lengthen only to the edges of the comfort zone, but not pushing them beyond the edges. That's what we call stretching, pulling the two ends of the muscle beyond the edge of the comfort zone. If we realize we don't want to do that, then we basically only go to the edge, and then we do something really fun. We explore what is it like to be on the edge. When we explore being on the edge of the comfort zone, it's not stretching. It's not pulling beyond the edge of the comfort zone. It's moving at 90 degrees angle in relation to where everyone else is moving. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is pulling beyond the edge of the comfort zone, going perpendicular to the edge of the comfort zone. And we start moving along or parallel the edge of the comfort zone, exploring what is it like to be on the edge. For example, instead of stretching my muscles like this, I go, okay, I get to the edge of my comfort zone, let's move along the edge. So then I'm exploring my full range of motion. And when I do this, something really cool happens. The more time I spend exploring the edges of my comfort zone, the more I become comfortable on that edge. Mm. And by doing so, naturally expand the edge of my comfort zone a little bit broader. It's going to be an organic but slower process, right. But it's something that is not going to create a weekend warrior syndrome, or basically overstretch, and then potentially inflammation and or injury. So something that we basically learn to do differently from the way that most people do things. Again, I don't want to say that everybody doesn't know what they're doing. Maybe they do, maybe they're operating on some other assumptions. But from everything I know about anatomy and physiology, and as you probably can tell, I know a few things about anatomy and physiology. I used to teach also at the East-West College of Healing Arts in Portland, Oregon, which is #1 school of body work, massage in our state. And what I taught was actually courses on not just anatomy, but body awareness for body workers. It's something that is crucial for body workers to have. And unfortunately, many of them don't have enough of it. And so what we do is we learn how to pay enough attention to ourselves and apply our knowledge of anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, and energy awareness as we develop in Qigong, so that we can function at a high level of human potential. We literally embody the next stage in human evolution. When people ask me, for example, how come you're so flexible, or how come you're so balanced, or how come you're so strong? Well, it's because I practice. I practice these things that enable me to function at the high level of human capacity. And I share all of these practices with my students, with my coaching clients, so I don't keep them secret. I believe that every human being needs to know it. The more people around us use themselves more intelligently and with greater sense of harmony, the more this world becomes harmonious. Who wouldn't want to live in a more harmonious world?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to live in a harmonious world where people are healthy and happy around me. And that's exactly what my job is about.
That's really great. Thank you so much. And you just made me think about, like, when you were talking about the soul walking and seeing you walk, I just got this thought in my head about walking on the moon. You know, the
moonwalk.
Yeah, the moonwalk. Well, and just, you know, I mean, I'm thinking about that song Walking on the Moon because I have a music background. I've always got a song running through my head. But, you know, when you do see the astronauts walk on the moon, it is kind of like that.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know what I mean? That same kind of, what I know, I just something I picked that up about the way you were walking in a way.
Right. Well,
So it kind of has somewhat of that similar movement of feeling, because you're, you know, the gravity, not having the gravity.
Well, there is some gravity in the moon, just 1/6 of the gravity on Earth. Which part of the country do you live in, Jennifer?
I actually live in California.
California. So you don't really get a lot of ice on the ground in winter.
No. I used to live in Chicago, so I know what that's like, but.
You know what it's like to walk on ice. Basically, I grew up in the former Soviet Union. You know, first years of my life were spent in the cold climates. And there was plenty of ice to walk on in the winter.
Yeah, we skated. We skated on ice.
Sure, skating is nice, but when you walk and you don't want to fall,
right?
You walk on ice. You walk soulfully.
Yeah.
Why? Because if you distribute weight too much on the heel or too much on some other part of the foot, the pressure will immediately start melting the ice under your foot. And that small, thin layer of water between the sole of your shoe and ice creates lubrication. Basically, that's why there is no friction on ice. It's because there is this little bit of water that melted as a result of high pressure. What we do is we distribute pressure so evenly throughout the entire sole of the foot that it doesn't melt. This ice doesn't melt. And so there is no water. Therefore, there is no lubrication. There is a lot more friction. That's how we walk, so we don't fall on our asses when we walk in winter. Now, what we do is we literally develop that ability to walk in a similar manner also throughout the rest of the year. Why? It's because it's healthier for our bodies to walk like this. Now, it's a funky way to walk, and if you see somebody walking like this, like I demonstrated, it looks different. It looks like weird. This guy is walking like he's on thin ice. Yes, that's the visualization that I actually use for developing this style of walking. But I guarantee once you start developing that walking style yourself, your feet will appreciate it. Your legs will become much more aligned. Your hips will no longer complain about having to work too hard because the bones start doing the job. When the bones do the job, muscles can relax. That means the central nervous system doesn't need to be so agitated. It doesn't need to send so many signals of contraction to the muscles throughout the body. And that includes, by the way, the breathing muscle, the diaphragm, just like we were talking about it previously. The breathing pattern changes when the whole body becomes more relaxed. Obviously, it becomes easier to breathe. I don't even have to teach breathing exercises to anyone who learns how to do this, because the breathing becomes natural. And what can be healthier than being natural?
Yeah. Well,
So,
just with the exercise that you showed us before, that felt very natural, comforting. I didn't feel any twisting of the body that where my body was going, ow, you know, but I never really associated the bone to the bone doing the work.
absolutely. Absolutely, yes. That's exactly what happens when you do the centering exercise and you just pivot from side to side. You align the spine with the vertical axis around which you're pivoting. When your spine becomes upright and aligned, of course it's going to do the job a lot better. That's when the muscles start relaxing, because the bones actually provide support. So there are a lot of really good reasons to do this, and virtually no side effects and no counterindications as far as I'm concerned. Marcia, you raised your hand. Just a moment. Let me ask Jennifer, did I provide the help that you were hoping that you would receive today?
Yes, absolutely. I've really learned a lot. I, can't thank you enough, and really appreciate your time and, showing me different ways of working through this. And it's not really about whether you have flat feet or arch or not. It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like this way. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate your time and energy and good vibes. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And yes,
love to learn more.
One foot is flatter than the other foot. It's because something has been done to this foot. And most likely it's not somebody who was doing something to your foot, it's you who've been doing it to your foot. So then you take full responsibility, say, sorry, my foot, I'm so sorry that I hurt you, or I overstretched the sole of the foot. I'm gonna learn how to use you better. And basically you develop a more harmonious relationship with that part of your body.
That's a very interesting thought process as well. Is it's about apologizing to your body for what you did to it. I love that. Even though in the past I've had injuries to that right foot, you have to nurture it. So thank you for that great thought. That's
so welcome.
Really appreciate it.
To summarize it in the most concise and the most intelligent way that I can think of, I put it this way, and it's actually a quote from one of my books. The more parts of yourself you help manifest and live their dreams, and most of their dreams are relatively simple, just to be healthy and happy. The more parts of you come together and help you manifest your dreams of health and happiness.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Marcia, what would you like to contribute?
I want to go back to the thoughts you were sharing about giving attention to yourself. And this applies to everyone who presented, a concern that we tend to go so fast to do exercises. If anybody has practiced Tai Chi, they slow things down, slow. But I'm going to say, when you are learning to pay attention to yourself, go even slower. When you're doing the exercise that Lama was referring to, of finding the edge of your comfort zone, when you find that spot, that's the moment to really pay attention to yourself, and not externally. We tend to think, oh, let me pay attention to myself like I pay attention to the doorbell when it rings. It's be the doorbell. It's be the doorknob. It's be the door. Be inside of yourself to that point where when you feel that element of pain and you slow down and you're doing those soft, subtle motions, this hurts, this doesn't, this hurts, this doesn't, like you become that space in there. You can't give yourself more attention than to become the energy between your cells. So it's that level of slowing down and being present to here, but not there, not there, but here. And the same thing for your feet when you're walking. Slow down, slower, go even slower, and really take on that practice of being present to the embodiment of your own energy, the tone and the feel of you touching the earth and its energy. And if that doesn't show up, slow down. It's definitely the lesson that I've learned in life is if I'm not getting the result that I want, slow down and bring my attention from out there, bring it back in here. Because it's in here that our self is actually accessible. So just wanted to share that of, you know, the getting in touch with your own energy, your own comfort zone is a slow and very mindful process. And then when you get, you know, time in the practice of it and you can go right there, it's a quicker event. But in the beginning, for all of us, slow down. Enjoy yourself from the inside. That's what I wanted to share. I think Yoav wanted to share something. He had his hand
I
up.
think that's beautiful sharing. Thank you so much for adding to that, because that's really what it's all about. And I'm actually getting ready to do a course with Heart Math Institute, which is really about connecting to the heart, you know, the brain-heart harmony. But everything that you just talked about aligns. Thank you so much. And you too, Lama, that's beautiful. And the sessions that you're, you know, with everybody else, learning so much from that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. As a matter of fact, speaking of programs, we have opportunities for receiving Qigong coaching at a rate that is a little bit less than my going coaching tuition, because several of my apprentices actually made themselves available to take 1 or 2 coaching clients. So both, I want to just give shout out to Marsha and to Jeffrey and to Stefan and Sean and Sirka and Yoav. And if there are any other apprentices of mine here, Bika has left because it's early at like 4 o'clock in the morning where she is. Everybody is all over the world, basically. She's from Hong Kong. But you are more than welcome to connect with either one of them. You know how to send a message individually to each person here in the chat. Just simply, when you go to chat and want to type a message, you have a choice, either to post it to everyone, or you can actually pick a particular person who you would like to message to. Also, if you want to request more coaching sessions, either myself or my apprentices, who I just mentioned, may be available for a complimentary coaching session. In other words, that would be not just 10, 15 minutes in the context of a coaching clinic. It would be a one-on-one session where we give 100% of our attention and dive a lot deeper and help a lot more. That's something that I invite you guys to explore. Simply go to Calendly. I'm going to type it down, calendly.com/Tantrapa. And you can see how there are some time slots that are available. Either myself or one of my apprentices will reach out to you and say, we'll be happy to offer you a complimentary coaching session. Now, this is something that there is no obligation. I mean, some people say, yeah, that was great. I want to continue receiving these coaching sessions. Obviously, coaching works particularly well when you receive it on an ongoing basis for a few months. Some of my coaching clients have been working with me for years, but it also can be beneficial to receive a relatively short span of attention. It still will be a lot better than nothing. And it's guaranteed to improve the quality of your life in one capacity, one form of fashion or another. Now, there's something that Marcia also shared, an email address. Thank you, Marcia. So yeah, if somebody wants to book a session, it not necessarily is going to be just myself. So Marcia, don't worry. If there is somebody who says, I want to work with Marcia, that basically will be an opportunity for both of you to connect and experience some Qigong coaching. Now, if anyone has any questions about anything that we explored today, please feel free to speak up and share what you have to share, or make comments or make requests. Don't hesitate to express yourself.
Lama, this is Mary Beth.
Hi, Mary Beth.
I think I thought I had tuned in on time, but I see the session has all been ongoing. It
Yes.
was 2 o'clock.
Your camera on as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe when I tuned in, I didn't tune in for camera. I don't know how to do that now. I assume it could be. Do I start video?
Yeah,
Oh, that works. Great. So, and I know you made an offer about a month ago of me getting in touch with you, and I really see the need for it. I really appreciate what you had to say to Jennifer. I have a balance problem. I think I might have told you, and I have a chronic scoliosis problem. But on top of that, when you talk about footwork, I have been dealing with a neuroma in my left foot toward the end of my last smaller 2 toes. I have an appointment, the earliest appointment I can get to try and see if they can remove that, or the podiatrist has been sawing it down every time he sees me. Well, this time it's overdue. And my appointment is about 3 weeks, and I wish it were sooner. So I think that contributes to some of my balance problem. Walking, I really didn't realize how much is involved with your body and walking the way you were expressing it. That was most interesting. I enjoy walking.
Scratch the surface of the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more.
Oh, I'm sure there is. But I'm saying I enjoy walking. In fact, it's very frustrating to me in this particular last year and a half of my life that I have to use walking sticks to be able to feel like I'm walking in balance. And I'm sure this neuroma in my left foot has a lot to contribute. In fact, right now, I'm wearing my winter slippers, which has a lot of cushioning in it, just to get some relief from that discomfort from neuroma. I guess what I'm saying too is my friend tells me it's a fear. I have a fear of going up and down stairs. I cannot do it. I've been taught how to use my sticks to help me balance to go up and down a step, even at the curbside. And I'm hoping that will improve as my balance improves. I think it's a fear of falling, yes, but I haven't always had that.
Yes, most people develop this fear of falling as they grow older, and it's something that obviously stems from the sensation of imbalance. Once you lose balance a few times, you start feeling concerned or afraid.
Yeah.
and nobody wants to fall and get hurt. And basically what we do then is we just start becoming more and more careful. Now that actually limits the enjoyment of life. If you can't go down the stairs, well, obviously there is a limitation. So what we do is we start training ourselves to overcome this limitation by taking baby steps. Baby steps are always easier to take than large leaps. And when you take a small step, not even the full step downstairs or down from the curb, but actually find a place in your house or elsewhere where there is a smaller ledge to step down from. And just practice. Practice makes perfect. You literally develop the ability to take this step with relative ease. Once that becomes relatively easy, well, then you simply find a higher ledge to step down from, or a curb, or a step. And basically, improving your function step by step quite becomes a method for improving virtually any aspect of life. Because if we actually put our mind to developing greater balance, it's totally doable. I don't think I've ever met a person who would not be able to improve the balance, at least to some extent, if they put a mind to it. But that's a matter of practice and training, and that's something that we often don't have enough time or tenacity to do. And so we literally have to dedicate enough time and have enough motivation to take those little baby steps. And I guarantee, with little improvement today and little improvement tomorrow, it will have a cumulative result. By the end of the month, you'll feel a lot more stable. Several months later, you feel a great deal more stable. Why? Because of the cumulative effect of these improvements. Does that make sense?
Well, I do have a curb outside my building. I live in an apartment building. I live on the main level. My husband and I chose the main level 5 years ago because I was just recovering from this foot surgery. But it would be nice if I could go down a flight of stairs, which are about 6 inches deep and about 15 to 18 steps to one flight, to get to my garage, to my car, rather than have to walk all the way down the hall, which I don't mind, but when I'm in a hurry, it makes a difference in time, to go down the elevator to my car.
Right.
So I don't know if this podiatrist who's going to look at my neuroma, how much helpful that will be.
Let me ask you this. Do you know the root cause of your neuroma?
I've had it before in a different part of my foot, and I had major surgery, but also at the same time I had a bunion that both of them were removed at the same time. And I'd say that was about 6 years ago, just before we moved into this building. We were on the flat level. And then I recovered from that surgery, and then all of a sudden this bunion occurred, not the bunion, the neuroma occurs at the left side of my foot. And I says, what happened? You didn't get it all the first time? He says, no, that can happen. I said, well, it seems to be more near to the toes than to be down farther on the center part of my foot. And he says, it can occur anywhere.
Right. Do you have any diabetes?
No.
Good.
Fortunately, no.
That's very fortunate, sure. But I also say that it's not a matter of good fortune as much as a matter of good lifestyle. All right. So obviously, it would be important to understand the root cause of the neuroma, because if it keeps coming back, it means the root cause is still there. Yeah, you can cut the part of the body out. But if you're not addressing the root cause and it still keeps coming back, basically what are you gonna just keep chopping different parts of the body out, different parts of the foot out? That's not the way to heal.
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have any trouble on my right foot. It's perfect. I want to stay that way.
Right. So perhaps your right foot can teach your left foot something, how to be neuroma free. Imagine that one foot has consciousness or ability to communicate with the other foot.
Wow.
And the other foot can actually learn something. Imagine that one foot can teach the other foot how to be neuroma free, how to be perfectly healthy and happy. What a concept, right? It actually may
Well, yes.
not just between the right and left foot, but communication actually happens between the right and left hemispheres of the brain.
Well, let's stop right there. I have no objection about the brain. That was my husband's field.
The brain surgery.
No, I denote the problem being relevant to maybe the chronic scoliosis that I suffer in my lumbar spine.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, most of the time, scoliosis is the result of imbalance between distribution of weight between the right and left feet.
I've had scoliosis all my life. It stemmed from when I was 11 years old, but I didn't know it until I was a young adult.
Right. Basically, you've been holding out for most of your life. I totally understand that. Doesn't mean that it's because of the spine being wrong, because the spine is like the part of the tall structure, like a skyscraper or some other tall building. We can't just blame that the roof of this building is crooked if the foundation is out of whack. Basically, what's likelihood of the whole building being upright if the foundation is off? No chance. The foundation, it determines what happens upstairs. So if the distribution of weight between the feet and also within each foot, like we were working previously with this distribution of weight on the centers of the soles of the feet, and also distribution of weight between the right and left foot, when this becomes balanced, of course it affects how the hips are. The hips become more balanced. When the hips are more balanced, the sacrum becomes more upright. When the sacrum is more upright, that's the foundation of lumbar spine. The lumbar spine is more likely to actually rest one vertebra on top of the other. When the vertebrae rest one on top of the other, they become aligned. They actually streamline. The streamlining of the spine cures scoliosis. I've worked with people who had scoliosis for most of their lives. It doesn't matter that they cannot be healed, or at least to some extent improved. I don't want to say that you're going to be cured, because the American Massage Association, American Medical Association probably would hunt me down with dogs if I start promoting that I cure people. However, what you can experience is self-healing. And that is what my coaching is all about. How to facilitate that each person I work with learns how to heal themselves from within, rather than rely on medical treatment or procedure. When you start healing from within, you feel like you're at the cause of your own health. You are in charge of your health, which is a very empowering way to live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been doing Qigong. I've been doing the breathing, and I've been doing the stretching up here. And I'd rather do Qigong than Tai Chi, which I did do before, but I had the difficulty of using the leg movements of Tai Chi when you raise one leg and keep the other one on the ground to move about. That was a no-no. I would lose balance. I'd fall down. I said, well, I'll just do what I can of the Tai Chi and move on. And then I heard of Qigong, and that was the better answer of the two. And I do use a DVD for that.
And just let me reiterate that baby steps are really helpful. So even if you are balancing on one foot, like I was just demonstrating a few minutes ago, I can balance on one foot, no problem. Why? Because I distribute weight on the center of that foot. Now, you may feel a little wobbly. You may feel like you're not used to balancing on one foot very well. So let's just take baby steps. Let's just balance for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And that's already an accomplishment for many people. And then how about 11 seconds, maybe 12, maybe 15. With practice, standing on one foot for a minute is not going to be a problem. And that basically is how we regain our balance. We take little baby steps, and with each practice, you become better at it. Basically, you also retrain your vestibular apparatus, that sensory organ in between your ears, so to speak, or in the inner ears,
Yeah.
that are responsible for your perception of gravity, so that it would actually be really fine-tuned. Fine-tuning vestibular apparatus and, in general, kinesthetic awareness, awareness of movement, is guaranteed to improve the way that you use your body. That's what I call the sixth sense, kinesthesia. Kinesthesia, as far as I'm concerned, is the sixth sense that a lot of people talk about, but very few people really understand.
Are you saying anesthesia?
Kinesthesia, kinesthetic awareness. Yeah, it's not a part of most people's vocabulary, but of course, then explains why people don't pay attention to it, right?
Right. Well, I was tested by a vestibular specialist at an audiology clinic and for an hour, and she could not come up with any problems.
Great.
So
So
I was glad to hear that.
just needs to be trained.
So you were describing, I think, to Jennifer, how you find the center of your foot.
Yeah.
I'll try and use a ruler and do that.
Fantastic.
I wonder if it's going to be over where my first melanoma was.
That I don't know. Well, but that's something that I can definitely encourage you to do. And if you need help with that, we'll provide you help.
I will definitely be in contact with you, Mama. I really appreciate you giving me those insights, really. If I could just get the balance, if I could just improve my balance and be able, I guess you're saying, to learn how to cope with this curvature of my spine without going through surgery and say, okay, I'm going to straighten it out, because I know that's not possible. I would be much happy on my feet.
No doubt. Yeah, I would definitely avoid surgery as much as.
Oh, no, it has not been mentioned, because I said I will, at my age, I will not do that. I've heard too many people go through surgery and were worse off later.
Exactly. And like I was just jokingly said, well, if you cut out each part of the body that hurts, how are you going to heal?
Yeah.
So, that's something that we definitely want to continue working on. It's an ongoing process of self-healing. This is what Qigong coaching is very much dedicated to. But we also work on other aspects of life. How to improve our relationships, how to improve our social life, how to improve our personal and spiritual development, even our finances, even our hobbies and ability to participate in sports. All of this is integrated, just like Yoav talks about developing a Qigong lifestyle rather than just studying another Qigong style. Now that's something that we're really dedicated to. So those of you folks who are interested in experiencing Qigong coaching on your own skin as a full-fledged coaching session, you're welcome to go to calendly.com/tantrapa. I also posted that in a chat. You can click on chat on the bottom of your screen, and you can see how there is a link there. Calendly.com.
I don't have a screen. I don't have it on my screen. I have the name of your shirt on the bottom of my screen.
Great. You can just go to academyofqidao.com and you will see that it's a very good website with lots of great information. You're welcome to visit the website. We will also be hosting the celebration of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day in a couple of weeks. So
On the Saturday.
and
gone to that in Kansas City, down at the Nelson Museum in Kansas City with Bill Douglas.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
But I don't think I'll be able to make it this time because it is in a hilly area. I do have to use my pair of walking sticks. I didn't have to do that 2 years ago when I went. Last year it was canceled because of COVID.
Right.
So I just don't think I'll be able to do it. But if I can look in and see what's going on, it's a wonderful experience. I recommend everybody go to it.
Absolutely. Yes. Last year, Bill and I organized an online celebration of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. And we are going to celebrate it this year online as well. So we're going to have a virtual event, and I will look forward to seeing you in there.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for participating today. And I will look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Until then, namaste.